so may I see it?
Okay.
And say the September 26, 24 Interior News article, it's now $1 million to renovate LB Warner's site.
Okay, Mr. Wynn, I'm sorry, I am gonna sort of just point out that we're at time. I realize that you thought there was more time, but that is the way the process works. So we need to be sort of fair for other
Yeah, I'll
folks.
just ask one last question. If I was gonna, say I had 3 areas of concern, I touched on 2. And I'd like to touch on, I don't know whether I have to make another petition to mayor and council, but I wanted to talk about the Hudson Bay Reservoir project, which is slated for this year and next year with an estimated cost of 1.5
Okay.
million.
And I'm gonna have to hold it there. I see the question in the submission that we have here. And I appreciate it. It's not the time you wanted, but it is the time that we have available. And perhaps I can offer if you wanted to talk at a different time to contact me. And I'm sorry, but we'll conclude it
Yeah,
there. We
no,
have
I'm-
everything in front
I'm
of us
prepared
for
to
this
play by
evening.
the rules. I'm not looking for any exceptions. I said, I thought I would be on the agenda last month. And when I was told not, I say the cycle 16 guys took 20 minutes. So.
All righty. Well,
that's
thank
what I'm
you.
prepared for.
Thanks for coming and engaging with us. And Mr. Olesiak, were you going to, okay.
Pardon
Okay.
me?
No, we
Oh.
have someone else wanting to speak, so. Thank you again. And when you come up like the previous speaker, if you don't mind, name and address, and just if you can let us know what subject you're speaking to.
Scott Olesiak, 8833 Bluff Road. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the service you guys provide to community. It's not always fun, but glad you're here. Couple of things I wasn't aware that it had to be on the agenda, but I think it's relevant. I saw a posting for a community safety officer for our town. I think it's the second one.
Mr. I'm sorry, because I'm going to have to hold to the rules. Is this on our agenda this evening? Because we are tied to that.
I haven't seen the agenda, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
So if it's, I'm sorry, but if it's not on the agenda,
Okay.
I'm not going to let you speak to it. It sounds very,
Meeting community safety officer isn't on the agenda.
I don't think so.
Okay, and probably my
It's
other
not.
point is, okay.
Which was your second topic?
Visitor Info Center, $35,000 assessment update, just seeing if anybody's done that through the Works Department.
And
Not on.
I don't think that's on the agenda either.
Okay.
So happy to circle back afterwards if you like. And
Sorry,
I'm
not
sorry.
knowing the rules. Anyhow,
Okay, well, it's good information for us. Yeah, the public speaking period is to something on the agenda.
thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming and sorry for that. Okay. Find my agenda. I must have a first page. There we go. Okay, council, sorry for that. And we are at 8:1, which is the minutes from August 26th for approval, please. Councillor Patterson, Councillor Bucama, any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And 8:2, council special open August 19th for approval, the minutes. Councillor Patterson, Councillor Raven, any errors or omissions? All in favor? Any opposed, and that's carried. And then I'm going to turn it to Mr. Schroeder. So the next item is items to be released from the closed, sorry, items to release from the public.
Thank you very much, Mayor Atchell. I have a number of motions to release from this evening's closed meeting. The first being motion C-25-110, that council allocate $126,500 for infrastructure improvements to the temporary overnight sheltering area. Motion C-25-111, that council allocate $235,000 for security involving one temporary overnight sheltering area and downtown roving security guard for 12 hours per day, Monday to Friday, and 24 hours per day for weekends and statutory holidays. And motion C-25-112, that council allocate the funding source for resolutions C-25-110 and C-25-111 in the amounts of $361,000 $361,500 from the Resource Benefits Resource Benefits Agreement funding. Additionally, that council award Blue Hawk Security a contract to provide security for the temporary overnight sheltering area. And further, motion C-25-102, that council directs staff to provide the Smithers District Chamber of Commerce with $25,000 in additional funding to continue the current fee-for-service agreement until the end of the 2025 season, and that the funding come from the general operating surplus. And that council directs staff to issue a request for proposal for interested nonprofit organizations to operate the Smithers Visitor Information Center commencing April 1st, 2026. And that council directs staff to provide the Smithers District Chamber of Commerce with notice of termination to conclude the fee-for-service agreement and lease agreement for 1411 Court Street by March 31st, 2026.
Thanks, Mr. Schroeder. So that is just information that has been presented. And then I think we are up to the council reports, and first up, Councillor Buikema.
Thanks, Mayor Attrell. First of all, the visitor center report and my 3-point report are there for information, and then just a few items to add. Yesterday, Councillor Elliott and I attended a pool board meeting. Today, I attended a meeting of the Smithers Chamber of Commerce. And at that meeting, they expressed appreciation for the extra $25,000 that we had supplied them for operating the visitor center. And they also expressed appreciation for all the paving that's happened in our community this summer. I noticed line painting has started and some of the roads look really good. I think King Street looks awesome, in my personal opinion. And in closing, just a quick Edmonton story. Am I allowed to do that? My daughter lives in Edmonton and married someone from Smithers, who's a firefighter in Edmonton. And recently someone came up to him and said, "You grew up in Smithers, didn't you?" He said, "How did a little town in northern BC pull off Tony Hawk and Canadian Brewery of the Year?" They said, "That's just incredible for a little town like that." So I thought that was a story worth sharing. And that's it for my report. Thank you, Mayor Attrell.
Thanks, Councillor Buikema. If that's an Edmonton story, you can add them anytime. So thank you. Okay, Councillor Leonard.
Sorry. In Councillor Buikema's report, he mentioned that him and I met with Director of Finance, Kevin Walsh, on the 27th of August. So that's all I have to report, but I just wanted to say that it was really fun geeking out with another fellow accountant, and I'm excited to see what Mr. Walsh is going to bring to the budgeting season for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. Okay, first Councillor Buikema with Edmonton, you with geeking out. And I skipped Councillor Elliott, so over to you, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, their stories are way more exciting than what I'm going to say. I'm just going to add to what Councillor Buikema said about the pool board meeting, and that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Elliott. Okay, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor Attrell. I noticed that the meeting minutes from the Community Safety Wellbeing weren't on this agenda that were held on Thursday, the 28th of September, but assume that they're going to come forward at the next meeting. But I just wanted to highlight for those who may have noticed that the presentation to council from the community isn't on the agenda for this month, but will be happening in October. We had just missed a meeting due to conflicts around summer holidays. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. We'll be looking forward to that. Councillor Raven.
So apologies, I did not get my report submitted in time to be part of the agenda, but I gave copies to all of council. So August 27th was the going away event for Nicole Chernish. So while she's no longer at the Smithers Art Gallery, she will always be a Smithereen at heart, and I wish her all the best on her next chapter in Kamloops. September 3rd and 4th, I was down in Vancouver, a part of the Strong Cities Network, Countering Online Harms in BC. It was a fantastic 2-day session that brought together municipalities, not-for-profits, to talk about the different online harms that occur and some ways we can take action. The executive director of the Office of the Wet'suwet'en also actually had a session there, which was fantastic to see. And then I sat on one panel and kind of gave the municipal perspective about some of the limitations that we face in helping some of these types of programs. On the 5th, there was the public engagement hosted by the Skate Park Society for ideas surrounding their pump track. I have to fully admit, I did not know what a pump track was, so it was kind of cool to be part of that and see what exactly that means. There was over 25 people in attendance, so that was really cool to see. And then I get to add my really bad spin on things too, but September the 6th was Catter Day at Total Pet for the Northwest Animal Shelter. So they currently have over 60 cats in their care, so that's a lot of food and a lot of cats looking for forever homes. And then also on the 6th, I was able to stop by and support the fundraiser barbecue to raise funds for the AEDs for the local fire department. And they smashed their goals where they're actually able to, at this time, purchase 3 AEDs, including one for the local soccer society. So just kudos. And it really shows that you can have a potential tragedy that just transforms into a lasting legacy of safety for the community. So that's fantastic.
Thanks, Councilor Raven. And thanks for attending that network, that the Strong Cities Network. Hopefully some of that emerges in things that we're able to drive forward. Okay, Councilor Ray.
I've been on vacation since the last council meeting, so nothing to report.
Well, it's nice to have you back, Councilor Ray. And I also didn't manage to submit to get things on the agenda on time. So just a quick run through some of the same things that other councillors had did. I did go to the farewell from Ms. Chernish at the gallery, and I had a chance to meet with senior staff from the Ministry of Waterland Resource Stewardship regarding engagement in terms of impacts of resource development. This was a follow-up from the discussion earlier in the summer with Minister Brar, who was talking about engagement primarily with Indigenous communities in Northwest, dealing with mineral development. And I had talked to the minister about how do local governments get input. And so I had a follow-up with senior staff here, really talking about be no surprise to council. And it's not so much a strong desire that I have to be at more tables, but that development has impact on communities in terms of what we're able to deliver. So if businesses, develop around major resource development and land in our community, how do we then ensure that we're resourced properly, that we can be running roads and water and sewers? So I was able to explain that's really my interest. And so we'll see how that goes. I'll continue the conversation. And also along with Councillor Buckham, I did attend the meeting at Rocks and Rambling, where the mining critic was there and the same message was shared. So it's that, local governments, no surprise to people here, that's really what the RBA is about. How do we ensure that resources are shared so that we can do our part to support the businesses who need certain services delivered? So kind of when I have the opportunity, that's the message. Was able to step in for Councillor Leonard at the last Minerals North Organizing Committee. And I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Ms. Berriman is doing to sort of support that committee and to do a ton of work in getting ready for the Minerals North conference that will be here next year. So that's ongoing. Minutes will be shared when they're done. And then there was another provincial call for mayors and chairs just on the state of emergencies in British Columbia. So fires and floods. And I got to tell you, it's interesting to be on those calls and live here. It's not that we couldn't have something go on, but I feel very lucky to be where we are. Looking at the drought things, Councillor Raven talked about it when she attended the past one, but feels pretty good here. And then sort of regular meetings, Bulkley-Nechako Regional District met last week for the regular board meeting, and an interesting conversation had to do on the development of a policy on AI, how it's going to be used internally, how that might affect what's being done already. What are the things, the opportunities, and what should we be afraid of? So the policy's in development. I'm sure it can be shared once it's done, but the conversation was really good, both from the staff perspective, advising the board, and from the board, both people that are excited and those that are a little bit intimidated. So, but really good conversation there. And that's it for me. Oh, and as always, we've got the items referred to strategic priorities there. If there's questions, I'll take them, and otherwise we're going to staff reports. Okay. So we are at 14.1, and this is the report from Ms. Smith. This is the follow-up for the Bulkley Marais landscape plan, long title. So we talked about how we thought that project could include local government input. And so we're getting back what we suggested, perhaps not exactly as we suggested. I'm not sure we asked to chair it, but that's the way it's been sent back to us. So I did circulate to council asking for interest. And at this point, one councillor's expressed interest. So if this is your last moment, and otherwise Councillor Patterson has expressed interest in representing us there. Okay, if there's no one else, then a motion is in order to appoint Councillor Patterson, unless there's other discussion. Councillor Raven is moving that we appoint Councillor Patterson as chair. Councillor Buchman, you were seconding. Thank you. And I'll just double check, Councillor Patterson, that's still correct. You had.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you.
Sort of like that last bit where it's like you have to accept the nomination. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and that's passed, and so we'll look forward to the reports as you get going. It sounds like every quarter. Thank you. And then 14.2, a report from Mr. Muscat on the Airport Master Plan Award with a recommendation. Councillor Ray, Councillor Buchema, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? And that is to take us down the path of master planning for the airport. So that's great. 14.3 from Mr. Allen. These are long titles, but it's to award a contract for integrated climate change and natural assets management to Urban Systems. The recommendation is there. Councillor Raven, Councillor Elliott. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? No one opposed? And that's carried. 14.4 from Ms. Berriman on the land needs assessment, phase 1 contract award to Urban Systems. Councillor Buchman moves, Councillor Patterson seconds. Discussion, Councillor Ray.
Well, not knowing a lot about urban systems, I just hope they have the capacity to do both of the contracts and that they don't interfere with the other.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship, not to talk about Urban Systems, but just I have experience having worked with them before, and they're quite a large organization. But on that note, I just want to say how thrilled I am to see this being a priority that's moving forward. When I first started on council, I remember feeling so disheartened when we talked about not having the land needed for a lot of the critical infrastructure that our community needs. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to staff for making this a priority. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. My own mic. All right, let's start that over. 14.5 report from Chief DeVries on an offer to give us the bell from the United Church. Anything you wanted to add, Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. I know the siren has been contentious kind of on both sides in the past, so I wanted to bring this forward and even see if we were interested in it first before going down any road, and obviously as part of this, doing some public engagement before we decide on anything. So I thought this was the best way to bring it forward to council at first.
Thanks for that, Chief. Any comments? Counselor Elliott,
Yeah, I do appreciate the report.
Counselor Ray?
Sorry.
No, no, it is you. I just want to Counselor Ray to turn his mic off.
Okay. Okay. I missed something. I do appreciate your report. I don't know what the rest of council feels like, but I don't think we need to go out and see what public opinion is on this. I quite like the air raid siren, even though maybe it's out of date, but I won't support it.
Thanks, Counselor Elliott. Sorry, did you want to speak, Counselor Ray, or your mic was just on inadvertently?
I do.
Okay, Counselor Ray, turn your mic off. Counselor Leonard and then Counselor Raven. Counselor Leonard, you're up.
Oh, sorry, thought Councillor Ray was, okay. I echo that. I was going to sort of voice my opposition. You know, it's not a hill for me to die on, I guess. I wasn't really privy to previous councils and issues with the siren. I haven't heard much in the public lately. You know, quite a few years ago I did. And really purely in an interest of capacity with staff, you know, I would say that's mostly why I'm opposed to it. If there was enough public support for it, I would probably support it. And while I appreciate the report from the chief, it doesn't really say, it just said a proposal came up. So it wasn't descriptive, and maybe we could get some background around that if it was just one individual that made the proposal, or if this is just something that's come up through a brainstorming session. Anyway, that was a long-winded way for me to say that I do oppose going further.
Thanks, Counselor Leonard. In case Chief DeVries.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Atrillo. So we were approached by one individual and they had talked to the Board of Trustees, I believe, from the United Church. Sorry, I said I believe only because I believe that's what they're called, the Board of Trustees. I might be misnaming the board, but they are in favor of donating it to us. It has, that person ran it through the side of the United Church, and because they are selling their building or hoping to sell their building, they are very much in favor of leaving it as a legacy in the town.
Thanks, Chief DeVries. And Counselor Raven.
So I can't say that I exactly have strong feelings about a siren or not a siren or a bell. My concern with this is, echoing Councillor Leonard, is staff capacity. So I know in the report it mentions that it's about 5 hours of staff time for public engagement and compiling and reporting. But I have sat in this seat long enough to know that these things have the potential to balloon. I'm thinking about structural upgrades if needed, depending on weight and size and potential costs for implementation. So for those reasons is why I am opposed. I think this would potentially be one of those times where what seems very simple on the surface turns out to be a rather large project down the road, and I'm just not willing to take that on at this time.
Thanks, Counselor Raven. Counselor Bucama.
Thanks, Mayor Attrill. Yeah, I don't have issues with the siren either. I know that bell is part of our town's history, and I know there's enough creative people in this community that maybe some other way of putting that bell to use can be found. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor Bucama. Counselor Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor Attrill. So I just have a couple questions through to the chief. And I'll confess, so having grown up in Victoria, that siren actually meant something in when we were doing our emergency preparedness for the Great Shakedown. So when I first moved here, I actually thought there was an emergency. I actually ran out to the front. I'll never forget everyone laughing at me being new to town. So it was quite comical. So one of the questions I have is there a long-term plan or current plan for how we use, outside of, for example, Voyant Alert, to notify our community if there's an emergency?
Chief DeVries.
So there's a few different ways. Obviously, we have had some communication issues with our fiber optic going down in the past, where we did have some communication issues where we were actually quite close to utilizing the siren to because there was a structure fire that day as well. But it wasn't needed in the end, as most of the town could see a large black plume, and the fire department firefighters came to the department even without the page. That being said, for large scale emergencies, generally what we will be utilizing predominantly is the RCMP and search and rescue to go door to door to let people know if they need to evacuate or something, if there's something in those areas. And that's how that would go to notify members of the public in different neighborhoods that they do need to evacuate their home due to some kind of emergency.
Councillor Patterson.
And if I may, your worship, just seeing how this had come up in the past, I'll confess I was a bit judgmental of some of the communication I saw on social media where people were trying to express support for those who were fleeing war-torn countries where the siren they felt was quite triggering, but also some of the conversations around people around place and how the siren was something that they felt represented their culture. But then I actually moved directly across the street from the fire hall, and it made me think more closely of how loud the siren is, and not to make it about me, but my son naps every day at noon, and then he wakes up every day at noon because of the siren. So then it made me also think about the people at the hospital who are struggling to sleep. And so it was something that I sort of waffled with back and forth. And while I appreciate the report and I would have supported even putting it on the floor, it might sound like I'll get outvoted, but I would love to see at some point us having a conversation about maybe something a bit more gentle like a bell. So I just appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Ray.
Just I agree with mostly with the capacity. I do appreciate the chief bringing it forward as an opportunity that was presented. And I do appreciate the sentiment behind it, but I think at this time I'll be opposed as well.
Okay. I don't think I have anything to add that wasn't said, so I'll just leave it there. And I don't think the motion's on the floor. So in this case, probably I'm going to turn the page unless someone makes a motion. Okay, and thank you, Chief, for the report and for answering the questions. Okay, 15.1 report for information from Mr. Shibley on the regrading on Hillside. It's good news, good information. And after that, I'm going to 17.1. I missed something. A letter from Keith Bacon and asking that we join the e-scooter pilot project. Anyone wants to talk to that? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor Atchell. I just wanted to raise for council's information that this is something that has been raised and discussed at the community safety and well-being meetings, just around how we can support the safety of primarily children that we see traveling at sort of excessive speeds without helmets in and around downtown. So just for council's consideration, this could be something that I could refer to that committee as well for further discussion.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Just for my clarity, when you're talking about the helmets, do you mean people on scooters not using helmets?
Yes, your worship, and then the speed in which they're traveling.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with Councillor Leonard?
I just want a clarification around the scooter pilot project. Is this something that is a province-wide thing, or and they're asking certain communities to be involved, or is this something that's being requested that we sort of formulate ourselves? Forgive my
I'll tell you
ignorance.
what no, it's okay. I sort of went down the rabbit hole a little bit today, and staff can correct me if they want to, but there is sort of, it looks like an ongoing invitation from the province if communities want to join the pilot project. Several communities have. I couldn't tell you how many. And then you kind of agree on the rules, or the rules are presented for you to agree with on how people behave, which allows the police to take action. So, there's speed limits, helmet things. So So it looks like it's a continuously open pilot at this point. So if the community wanted to join, then we would, ask staff to look at it and bring something back to us. Yeah, so maybe I'll stop there before I give my opinion. Hopefully that was a bit helpful. You can get it just by e-scooter pilot project. And there's a brochure and then a bunch of background information. Is there anything you wanted to add about? Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm just moving on. Did you have your hand up? Oh, Councillor Buchan, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I find this an interesting one because I go into so many communities where they are allowed and they're not allowed in Smithers. I think the only issue I have with e-scooters and sometimes with e-bikes as well is when they come up behind you, they're so quiet, you don't hear them coming. But at the same time, like I said, most communities allow them. And I don't know if it's something we need to reconsider.
Thanks, Councillor Buchan. I think there was very few communities that are actually a part of it. So I think, people use them here as well. It would change the approach of the RCMP and perhaps our staff in the CSO department and how they approach them. But certainly people are using them. I see people on the highway and in town. So, people can, mull it over. It would be at council's behest if you want to bring it back a different time. Yeah, I see the other people too. So, okay, Councillor Ray, and then I saw Councillor Patterson.
I wasn't going to say anything because it seems like it was going to pass by without comment, but I actually don't think we should be involved. I think the province should figure it out. They need to figure out an e-scooter is something that moves at a great rate of speed, has no safety systems, and we're letting children ride them that don't know the rules of the road. I mean, I've said this about bicycles, but at least a bicycle is moving at a fairly reasonable rate of speed. The speed at which I see children zipping around on e-scooters in town is a little bit alarming. And the reason people in vehicles complain about bicycles and everything is because we're afraid of hitting them. And e-scooters scare the heck out of me because of the way they're driven. Maybe not by this one individual, but by children especially. It is rather alarming.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Patterson, I see your hand.
Yes, Your Worship, actually a question through to yourself and perhaps staff. Because I also have mixed feelings about the next step, but I wonder, would it be beneficial to refer this specific letter, if that's possible, to the Select Committee on Community Safety, Wellbeing for consideration and its recommendations that it will make to council at the end of this year?
It's not inappropriate to do that. I'm not sure what the sense of the table is. If it's something we want to pursue, that's probably what would guide the referral. So then in answer to Councillor Patterson, council, if it's something that you want to do, a motion's in order. And if you don't want to do it, then we don't have to. Councillor Ray and then Councillor Raven.
I think all opinions aside, it's another thing for staff to look into that I think they don't have time.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Raven.
I was going to bring up the same thing. We're back to staff capacity. And also I really liked what Councillor Ray hit on with the downloading piece, is this is a safety issue that if the police are already involved, it's actually at a provincial level. So I think that the province should step up and come up with guidelines, especially since it shouldn't be community by community. It should be a standard across the province. Those are just my thoughts.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I share the same sentiment too. I think maybe in bigger centers, the scooters have been used for quite a while. And I know they're involved in lots of incidents with pedestrians and other cyclists. And I agree. I think the government needs to make some legislation about controlling these scooters. I mean, there was a guy driving down the road in Prince George on a Barbie Jeep the other day and was going to get fined, I believe. But I think that there's really little legislation, and I think the government needs to step up and do something and to be able to make rules and govern it properly.
I'm going to go to Councillor Patterson. Oh no, Councillor Buchan, and then I'll come to Councillor Patterson.
I do agree with Councillor Ray's concerns about safety too. And One of the things that in particular concerns me is I often see two kids on a scooter together, and that strikes me as being exceedingly dangerous.
Thanks, Counselor Buckham. Sorry, I just had a question for procedure. Counselor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm guessing that I'm going to answer my own question through to staff, but it's obviously too late to bring forward any resolutions or meeting requests with the province in anticipation of UBC. I'm correct? Okay. So just going to test the waters if I can, Your Worship, to see if, before I make a motion, if council would like us to write a letter sort of synthesizing our concerns here to the province.
Not seeing that. It might be, I'll just venture because of the level of conversation that council's had, we might want to just respond to the author and let him know. I'm going to summarize what I think I heard, and then you can correct it if you think it's wrong. That council has some sympathy with the request, but feels it's the duty of the province to come up with provincial regulations. I can add some words just generally around that, but that seems to be the summary of council. So if you're content with that, then just so I don't forget, maybe a motion to that the mayor respond to the writer with that would help me remember. Councillor Raven, Councillor Buckham, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Since it's in the minutes, someone will help remind me. Thank you. Okay. And so we've got the 18s, and people let me know what you want to talk about in the 18s. Councillor Buckham.
18-2.
Okay, I've got 18-2. I'll just go around. Anything else, Councillor Buckham? That's it. Okay. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship. 18-1, and apologies, I'm just going to scroll through to make sure that there isn't another, as 18-1 is quite long. I also had 18-2 and 18-4.
18-4. Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Leonard.
I had 18-2 as well.
Okay. This side of the table, Councillor Elliott and Councillor Raven. In addition. Okay. Let's start at the beginning then. So first up was 18-1. I think that was Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Was just hoping that we could refer 18-1 through to staff with more of a request to say that perhaps Her Worship would be involved in that conversation as well.
Okay, the motion is to refer the bundle of letters to staff. And you want to respond back or some just give the, or just refer to staff?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I just didn't want to be exclusive to just staff, like
Yeah.
recognizing the, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Ray, are you seconding?
Sure, and
Okay.
also just that council be kept apprised of, because Mr. Allen's waiting for the design on the water main, for example, just so council knows what's going on as well.
Okay. So refer to staff and sort of eventually report back to council. Okay, once we get that. Now I'm looking this way. Any other comments on this one? All right, the motion is to refer to staff. It was moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. Second up was 18-2. I'll just go to Councillor Buckham and then we'll hear from Councillor Leonard as well.
Thanks, Mayor Attrell. It's not that I have a lot to say about the letter, but I just had a question through to staff, but unfortunately, Mr. Allen is not here to answer it. But the question I'd love to have answered, has there ever been consideration given to paving the parking lot at the arena? Has that ever been on the list of projects? Maybe.
Yeah, I think Councillor Ray probably has the longest memory of those at the table. So I think you had a question too, but let's just test your memory.
To answer that, when the second sheet of ice was built, council kind of inquired as to, you know, how much might it cost? And at the time, it was going to cost almost half as much as the new building itself, somewhere north of $2 million. So
And did you have another question? You had your hand up. So.
I just wanted to say, you know, when people want things in the community, we do now have the community partnership agreement. If somebody wanted to donate paving or raise money for paving, that's one pathway to it. I think the other thing I wanted to say is, you know, that obviously the Petersons have been here and involved in hockey longer than I have. But when I first moved up here, it snowed, it froze, and that was how it was. There were some potholes from time to time, but not the muddy potholes we got now because it's freezing and thawing all the time. You know, some drainage work was done with the new arena, but you know, it's not perfect. But I think that might be, you know, unless we get into permanent RBA money where we always know we have it, there's other things, unfortunately, that, you know, we did a lot of paving this year, but if we had $2 million, I don't know if I would spend it on paving the arena because there's other things that need to be done. But that being said, if people feel, or if LB or whoever it is, Terrace Construction now feels like they want to donate some, then we do have a pathway forward for that.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Leonard.
My question was exactly Councillor Buchanan's question. I just was looking for some history around if it ever had been considered in the past, because it is a large area, big footprint, and I know it would be extremely costly to pave. So yeah, I was just curious, and it's been answered by Councillor Ray. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Raven.
So I definitely understand the thoughts and feelings behind it, but just putting into perspective, it would be more to pave the parking lot than it would be for our entire paving budget for this year is what it comes down to. The other thing to also consider is that with paving, there's heat, especially in the summer. So I mean, when we start looking at doing the town differently where we have natural assets and shade, I mean, large parking lots are trying to be avoided. So while I understand the concern, it's not one that I think we will be fixing anytime in the near future. And thank you, Councillor Ray, for bringing up the freeze thaw cycles, because that is a huge reason why we have the mud pit that we get now.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Okay, Councillor Ray.
Sorry, there's just one other thing in there that it's pointed out that the pool's parking lot is paved, and I believe that was done when the pool was built, and that's not a town building, it's a RD building.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Buchanan.
Thanks, Mayor Attrell. I appreciate the history that Councillor Ray gave, and my gut feeling is if it was 2 million back when the arena was built, we're probably looking at 5 or 6 today. So that changes my feelings about taking this on as a project. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Buchanan. I'm not sure I feel the same as everyone here. I realize that maybe it's too big a project to take on at once. And I guess I think about what happens at that park and what we're adding to the park. And perhaps there's a way to think about that park in bits and bytes that, you know, some buildings pave aprons and that cleans up as people walk in. So, you know, I think it's one worth considering. There are times when we look at that parking lot and there are from dozens to 100 vehicles in there weekend after weekend. And now we have people parking adjacent, like on the street, on the highway, because it's a really busy park. And the plan is to make it a busier park over time. So I don't have a short answer to this, but I think it's a reasonable request to ask staff to put in the queue somewhere. So I'll just look to Mr. Dewar. I realize we're trying to minimize extra work, but when it comes time to look at paving projects in the future, and how we might do a project like this, including just aprons of buildings to make them cleaner so that there's less junk going in to the fronts of those arenas. Like, I don't know if there's a way that we can keep this alive for some reference as we look at projects going forward.
I'd say the best way is through council resolution if you wish to keep it on the books. Or else you could refer to staff in terms of the you know, potential application of pavement to it. But certainly it's one that right now, from my understanding, and I'd have to follow up, we don't have as a consideration or top consideration in our paving program in the years coming.
Yeah, and it's, I guess what I'm looking, I'm not looking to be prescriptive because we do have a paving program that doesn't include like parking lots and big lots like this, but it's to, put it in on a sheet somewhere where we could look at it. Like, I really am thinking about the aprons, like, can we, and maybe it has to do, I would think it was Council Ray saying, well, maybe the drainage isn't good. Like, how do we even consider improving where people park as we're improving the park itself? So I'm not suggesting we do it right now, or even that we tackle the aprons, but that somehow it hangs in the balance, like Mr. Dore and then Councillor Ray.
If it so met the needs or met the intentions of what you're trying to propose, it's one that I could just kind of make note of what has been discussed and send an email and just kind of express to our team that manages those matters that, hey, this is a consideration that was brought up during a council meeting. Just kind of keep in the back of the mind as we look at future development and future paving programs. But it's certainly one that I can't guarantee is going to continue forward because we'd need some kind of something on the books to make sure that it's stuck there. But we could put that intention out there and then, yeah, at least everyone is cognizant of it for this time being.
Thanks, Mr. Dore. Councillor Ray.
I'll move, we refer this to the Standing Committee on Strategic Priorities. And if I get a seconder,
Councillor Buchan, seconds.
yeah, I think we have things that are just in the parking lot as it were, but I'm thinking of, we haven't, through the Parks and Rec Master Plan, we haven't identified, for example, where the second or the outdoor arena might go. If it goes there, it might make sense for that to be the first bit of paving, a little pavement from the outdoor arena to the indoor arena so that people can come and go without tracking mud, for example. So that's somewhere where it might start. But I still like the idea of the community coming forward.
I do too. I mean, I love projects that are supported. It was actually what you said about the underpinning that, people may be interested in supporting the surface, but if we actually have to reflect on what's underneath. Anyway, I appreciate that. I think it's just a place as a reminder. Yeah, it's a pretty significant park and it can be pretty nasty sometimes of the year. So that works for me. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor Atchell. I'm really glad that you actually brought that up. I had prepared a motion. I would love to have even seen a quote or a rough estimation from staff on what it would cost, in addition to potentially a phased approach, given that, to your point, we are going to hopefully discuss prioritization of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and hopefully get more RBA funding for the next incoming council. So I fully support, I'm glad Councillor Ray sort of made a way forward, but something that might be a little bit more feasible is it an option to do a phased approach instead of just doing it all in one fell swoop? So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Okay, motion to refer to ourselves and strategic priorities. It does keep it sort of hanging there in the edges. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay. That was 18.2. Next up was 18.4. And I don't remember who asked. So whoever it was, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor Atchell. Before I make my motion, I just wanted to ask a question through to staff if they had seen any issue with council signing on to the draft proclamation.
Thank you very much. Through Mayor Atchell, the town of Smithers has a practice of not making or signing proclamations. There was a good discussion held by council in the past, and a lot of the focus was on the administrative time and effort that it takes to both maintain a proclamation list, ensure that proclamations are completed on the day that they're supposed to be completed, and then have them posted or do some other type of social media associated with those. And I believe that the intention of council at that time was simply that the town could acknowledge these things through our different activities, or that different councillors would be able to engage in those types of activities.
Thank you, Mayor Atchell. Happy to hear you say that. So my follow-up was going to be just specific to, do we need a motion to utilize our social media platform? Having engaged with some of my friends who work on the rails and talk about some of the safety concerns they have, for example, of children playing in proximity to the rail line. I just thought maybe it would be a great opportunity for us just to remind folks about rail safety standards. Would we need a motion to do that? Or to your point around some of the engagement on how we can capitalize on that opportunity, is that something that's already been considered?
Yeah, so that's something, the staff is aware of, and we can look at it, but we make or see whether it adheres to our policy or not. If you were to make a motion, we'd have to still check and see if it adheres to the policy. So what I'd say is staff has heard at this moment, and we will follow through if we see there's opportunity, and if not, we won't post anything related to it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Patterson. It's actually on here because I asked staff to put it on so that it would have the public view. I responded to Mr. Bannock when I received this and let him know this is not something that we do, but just to give it a little bit of attention, I asked staff to just place it on the public agenda for information. Okay. I think we're there. Did I miss anything? No. Okay. Then if we can, Councillor Leonard, if I can ask you to stay on, we'll be reconvening in a few minutes. But let's have a motion to, are we recessing? Okay, we're going to recess and move back to close. A motion to recess the open. Councillor Raven, Councillor Elliott, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. So we'll just take a couple of minutes while the room clears, and then I'll call people back. So I'll just give you an alert.